Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the Valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman, see Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking, and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R CatCast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R CatCast, a special episode of the R&R CatCast. It is our first live stream episode that we've ever done, and it's going to be something. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and we want to thank our sponsor this year, Manhattan Bank, taking care of all your banking needs in the Gallatin Valley. 4 locations: Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, and Three Forks. A bank for the people, by the people. We enjoy being partnered with them. Happy to talk about Manhattan Bank anytime we get to. Thorny, this is a special episode. Not only is it like a recap of the season, we haven't talked in about a month, but this is our first live episode.
We are live for our Ko-fi supporters, just kind of dipping our toes into it. If it's something that kind of works out, maybe it's something we do more in the future, semi-regularly. Maybe it becomes a regular thing. I don't know. But yeah, trying it out. Sorry if the audio sounds weird. We don't know what we're doing here. Just kind of messing around. But here we are doing a live show on YouTube, just like all the other podcasters seem to be doing these days. So we're going to test it out and appreciate the Ko-fi supporters. And if you want to become a Ko-fi supporter of the show, that is ko-fi.com/rrcatcast, and you can go take a look at the options there.
Right on. Well, they can see our basement now, at least my basement. I don't know where you podcast, probably somewhere in your house, but you didn't try to church it up in the background. It is what it is.
It is what it is. And that'll be I hope you notice that if you listen to our podcast, we put a lot of effort into making a good sounding audio quality. And if we just decide to go into video, we will make good video quality too. But until we decide that, we're going with whatever we got. I got my cheapo webcam, got my stupid background that's just blank spare bedroom wall with the bright light kind of shining down, being kind of in the way. Looks a little angelic or horrific. I'm not sure which one, but we'll invest more in it if that's something we go into more in the future.
All right. Okay, well, let's get into a season recap rundown. So what we're going to talk about today, we'll get into the intro. We'll talk about the non-beers we're drinking. Both Ryan and I are on kind of a dry January right now. So, but we do still have something in our golden coolies. At least I do.
I have nothing.
Yes. Well, there you go. Foley has it. Talk about the news. We'll get into a little bit of the transfer stuff with Afonso and Stones, and then we'll talk Brian Armstrong going to Fresno. We're going to thank the seniors. We'll go through the list of the seniors that graduated. Some of them might be coming back. I do have a couple questions I was going to ask you, Ryan, about those guys. And then we're going to get into the season. We'll go back and take a look about how Ryan and I did our preseason predictions, what came true, how Montana State, ended up in the season. Pretty good if you didn't watch. And then we'll talk about next year a little bit, maybe some needs, the quarterback play. It's just some broad topics about what we hope to see Montana State accomplish in 2023.
Sounds good, man. Sounds fun. It's been a while talking Bobcat football. I've had so many things to say, but as time kind of goes on, it's like, you're less, the desire to talk about it fades a little bit. So hopefully we got some stuff still on the tip of the tongue. We got a lot to cover,
It
though.
does re-energize you. I could feel it coming back right
Yeah.
now. I'm like, man, now I want to talk football. Now I want to watch football. Have
Yeah.
you gone back and watched any of the games since we lost to South Dakota State?
So I rewatched the South Dakota State game offensively, like a rewinding just to see what we did on offense, solely to rebuttal somebody on Twitter who said that Montana State did a bunch of crap, ran a bunch of weird crap, and if you're a good football team, you should be able to beat a team straight up. And I went, as I texted you, like, did we run a bunch of weird crap? I felt like we just kind of ran our offense. So I did rewatch it just to make sure that nothing too goofy happened, and nothing did. But no, I haven't rewatched much, hardly at all, of the Bobcat football. I've been too depressed really about it, man. It's like it's a wound. Watching all the other beat reporters and people traveling to Frisco, taking pictures of the stadium from the outside. I remember when we first got there, first seeing the stadium for the first time, that huge like Bobcat banner. So just seeing all those pictures kind of made me sad. I was like, I want to be there.
I'm with you. Saturday came, or Sunday this year came, and I was looking there. Actually, even when the Friday came, I was like, man, I should be getting on a plane going to Frisco. I just missed. I texted my buddy Mike that we met down there. I texted you and Pete and maybe my uncle, and I was just like, man, I just kind of feel a hole in my heart right now that Montana State is not playing in the national championship. It was such a cool experience, and I wanted to go back. And to boot, right, it was a perfect day. Like Frisco was bright and sunny.
Of course it was.
People are getting sunburnt. Battle of the two ugliest fan bases out there, just whiteys,
Easy.
just getting red, rosy cheeked, completely sunburned. But I was jealous. But congratulations to South Dakota State. I mean, makes our 18-39 loss against them in the semifinals not feel that bad.
Hey, they had
South Dakota.
Yeah.
So
they had a really good contingent of fans down there. South Dakota State looked like they outnumbered North Dakota State, or at least it was close to split. So they did a really good job. Kudos to South Dakota State. And losing to the national championship team again. Yeah.
Well, kind of a parting thought on that. I think South Dakota State's here to stay. I mean, looking at what they got coming back. It's going to be a epic game in Brookings when we go back there in September.
Big measuring stick to start off the season.
I can't wait to talk about that one.
Yep.
All right, let's go back into what we're about to do. Let's talk about what's in our golden coolies.
Hey, look, I did the little banner thing. It's hard. I have to try and remember to put up banners on the screen, too. I have to be kind of a producer also on top of this. So it's a little more on my plate, but I got it. I'm doing okay so far.
Do you have a little jingle?
No. Oh, no, I don't have that. Wait. Actually, I think I do. Oh, it's not working. The button's like flashing. What am I doing wrong? Yeah, we'll learn.
I didn't like it.
What's in your golden coolie? There it goes. I did. That was it.
I have a tangerine LaCroix backed up by just a pure LaCroix.
You have a backup LaCroix in case you chug your first LaCroix too fast. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Anyways, had an iced tea earlier. I mean, I'm living dangerously around the Pulley household.
I wanted to put something in the golden coolie just because, we're on camera. I wanted to have a little something to look at, but I have literally nothing to put in it. I have Kern's juice, and I didn't really want to 40 grams of sugar this close to bedtime. It's like, I don't have it. I'm out of sparkling water. I don't want a beer. So unfortunately, I have nothing. Sad day.
Well, we'll do more golden coolie segments in the future, but this one is just a little bit different for us.
Plus, so, there's no bad juju because there's no game coming up, so it's okay.
Yep. All right. Before we get into the Bobcat news, I kind of want to give a shout out to Alex Eshelman. Moving on to the Big Sky Conference media relations I'm right on that. I know she's moving on.
She's taken I believe Mary-Lisa Cook's job, basically.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't sure the title of it, but I'm pretty sure she'll be doing the same stuff we saw Mary-Lisa Cook doing.
And also, I wanted to give a shout out to Victor Flores, who was named the Montana Sports Writer of the Year recently. And those two people gave us a lot of content. I know I really lean on Victor, his writings, his articles for some information when we're preparing for the podcast. And Alex, of course, she's been on the show and she's just such a good person. We got to meet her and Victor at Media Days this year. I'm just really happy for those guys. So shout out to those guys.
Yep, agreed. Good shout out. And I agree 100% with everything you said.
All right. News. Let's talk about the transfer portal thing that's going crazy. I think it's ending next week. Like it's closing. The portal is closing.
What does that even mean?
Reopened in May.
Like someone can,
like that.
Yeah. I mean, someone can quit the team at any point, though. Like it doesn't really matter. I don't know. Maybe there'll be less activity, I guess. But there'll be plenty of that supposed like tampering behind the scenes chat. If someone's just because the portal's not open doesn't mean people aren't trying to poach your players.
Oh man. The more and more I learn about this, it's clearly just flat out in front of you. This is all about money. There's so much money these kids are getting these days just to go places.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah,
it is.
It's always been that way, at least in the big time levels. But now it's kind of out in the open, and now it's everywhere.
Begs the question: like how much money are guys getting to come to Montana State? Is that starting to happen? Well, I know we have the NIL collective, and that's awesome. But is there other monies being thrown at these guys to play ball for the Bobcats?
I mean, it's still not as much as the Dakota schools that are full cost of attendance. I doubt it's that much. I think Isaiah Fonze had a vehicle though, right? Because he was a partner with dealerships, so maybe he leased it. I don't know, but at least he got a free ride for his time as a Bobcat anyway.
There it is. Well, he's the one guy that went into the portal. He's still not announced on where he's going. I texted you a couple of days ago. I was like, is there a chance that Afonso comes back?
I feel like the longer it goes without any news happening, the more likely that scenario is, but I still put it pretty far down the list of possibilities. His interview with Victor Flores, I believe it was Victor, and I apologize if it was somebody else. It made it sound like he just was done being in Bozeman, done going to school here for 5 years, and I don't blame him at all. Like, it's a long time to spend in one place, and want to change the scenery for your last year. It seemed to be more about just a change of scenery and starting fresh somewhere else more than it did looking for an FBS offer or and even like position himself to better have an NFL prospect. So I think he's probably gone, but hey, stranger things have happened.
I'm very appreciative of what he's done, no doubt. I mean, we've been huge fans of Afonso. But to be honest, Ryan, I don't get it. Like, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, if finish the ride is kind of where my mind would be. But he's his own man, so can't blame him. But doesn't necessarily mean I have to agree with him on that. The one that hurt me the most, and Afonso's big, right? I mean, he's the all-time leading rusher. But I have a sneaky suspicion that our run game probably won't take that big of a hit, to be honest. And that's probably something maybe for a later episode that we can kind of chew on, maybe preseason kind of stuff. But Stones, our boy Stones, Blake Glessner went into the portal all for about 5 minutes and then got scooped up by UCLA. So he's going to go see his former teammate. Oh, crap. I'm just blanking on his name right now. TJ Sessions. Yeah. Sessions is down there. So 2 Bobcats now playing for UCLA. We're happy for Mr. Stones. He led the team in points this year.
Yeah, so, broke the all-time record for point scoring a season.
143.
Remember, because we had talked about it, because we had like, guess who the other one is? It was Troy Anderson, who was the previous record holder.
Anderson.
And just a slight correction there, TJ Session is at Cal. But regardless, same.
So it's the first time I was wrong tonight. There you go.
The first one.
Ka-ching.
Hey, maybe we get a graphic up here on StreamYard where it's like fully being wrong, and I can do like a little. What is it called when you do like the little line and the check through? What's the actual official name of that? Just a tally? That's just a tally?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, though? You make the 4 vertical lines and then the diagonal line through them to Big 5. You don't know what I'm talking about? Are you serious?
I know.
Oh, man. All right, I'm going to write on a piece of paper.
This is really good podcasting right now, Thorny.
This? You don't know what that is? Oh man, my lighting is
It's
terrible.
like whitewash. Oh yes, yes. Tally marks. Okay,
Is
tally
that
marks.
is that all they're called? Is just tally marks?
Yes, it's a tally mark.
Okay. We need one of those up here we could have one for each of us every time we say something that's
Okay.
wrong. All right. Well,
I
then
just
the
think
other,
we need like a sound button, ka-ching, or
yeah,
a pow.
yep. Well, then the other big news, of course, Brian Armstrong is leaving his position as the offensive line coach for the Bobcats to go take the offensive line coach position at Fresno State, right? Same position, I believe.
Yes, correct.
Except he makes like 4 times as much money at a historically good program. Like Fresno State is a good, like, I mean, if you want to classify football in terms of like basketball, they'd be like a really good mid-major in football. So kudos to him. He's put in the work. He's put in a lot of time as a Bobcat, and he's done a great job. And by all accounts, it's very deserving of getting an opportunity to move up.
Yeah, that one's tough.
That hurts, though.
Yeah, that one's tough. We've had really good offensive line coaches, from Coach McIndoe to Jason Knack to now Coach Armstrong leaving 7 years. Man, he was such a good coach. That one hurts me. That one gives me the biggest question mark in my brain. Like, how do we replace him? What kind of schemes are we going to run? Will we stick with the outside zone, which is something like I'm really hoping for? I've been a big fan of that since we learned about that this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A lot to keep your ears open and eyes tuned into the socials for. But have you heard any rumblings?
No. Nope.
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet on the Western Front for Montana State news as far as like this kind of stuff.
I am concerned that there'll be a lineman or two that follow Armstrong to Fresno State.
It's a valid concern.
But we'll see. I think that may have happened already. Maybe it won't. And apparently there's some big convention going on right now too, right? Like some big coaching convention going on this week. And apparently lots of job offers are offered. And, you know, we might be hearing some more Bobcat assistants getting job offers or on their way out when this convention ends. Apparently, I'm going based on what I've been reading on Bobcat Nation. I don't follow this kind of stuff, but might not be the last coaching change.
You gotta wonder when Montana's salary pool is going to be bigger, just in general, because they'll have to raise with both Montana and Montana State.
Well, that's like border region type stuff, right? So I'm not sure how you even do that. I don't know how to go about how is that pool created. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. Now, can you offer them like some sort of housing allowance? That would be very beneficial. Maybe not give them more money, but hey, we'll give you some cheap housing. That might help them out.
Yeah, absolutely would. We have quite a few Bobcat players that are hanging around Bozeman. I wonder if they'd be interested. I know like JP Flynn is a coach down in Belgrade, or not Belgrade, but Gallatin Gateway. So I don't know. Depends on what Coach Vegan wants to do. He seems to bring in some outside guys from the NDSU tree. I'm sure I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah, he's probably got a young up and comer like the safeties coach we had this year was Shepard, right? I don't remember who it was. Some NDSU guy. I can't even remember now. Geez, but probably someone similar to that, I imagine. He doesn't seem to bring in the salty vets too much outside of obviously Willie Matt Garza, but he seems to like having young and up and comers, you know, in that same mold as Choate, where I think both of them enjoy that part of the job where they're bringing on young coaches, giving them a chance, and then like being genuinely happy for them when they move on somewhere else.
Correct.
Well, speaking of moving on, should we talk about the senior class that was?
Thank you, seniors.
Thank you, seniors. See, I got it up on my screen here. And I switched to my senior thing, which is just a huge jumbled mess of text. There it is. So if you're watching this, watching the replay of this or whatever, now you can see I got Cleveland Thomas with a question mark on it because he was going to announce something today, and I never saw anything happen. I thought I'd heard that he was going to come back. I thought maybe Vegan said that after the loss at South Dakota State. but maybe he had
I
changed
heard
his
that
mind.
multiple places.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of already a foregone conclusion, but now he's like making a decision today or an announcement today. So it's a question mark.
All right.
But how do we want to do this? Do we want to just read down the list real quick and then maybe go back and talk about a few guys that we want to say something about?
Do you want to say anything about any of those guys?
About any of the seniors?
Yeah, so let's start with the list. How about that?
All right. So do you want to take turns? Do you want me just to plow through it? Or do you want to plow?
Why don't you plow through it?
All right. First one, I'm just going to go how I have it listed on the document. Ravi Alston graduated this year. Kagan Williams should be back. So he's the one. So the next two guys are both potentially coming back, Cleveland Thomas and Kagan Williams. Tyrell Thomas finally moving on from his Bobcat career. Reddy Short, the safety from Arizona. Coy Steele, James Campbell, Jeffrey Manning Jr., Ty Okada, Willie Patterson, our boy. Isaiah Afonso will put on this list because he did graduate, which is kind of we debated, like, should we put him on there? Because he's transferring out. He still has eligibility, but we'll go ahead and put him on here. Jory Choate, RJ Fitzgerald, Callahan O'Reilly, Tyson Regenball, Joe McElroy, and Kyle Rigg are the ones that I was able to find. This is basically just the roster listed as seniors or grad transfers. So if we are wrong on any of that, someone please correct us. But as far as I can tell, those are the guys who exhausted their eligibility and will no longer be playing for the Bobcats.
Okay. So Tyson Regenbald is not coming back.
I mean, he's listed as a senior.
Question on.
Now, maybe he has a COVID year. I have no idea. He's been in the program a while. Like, he was a choke recruit. He's been here for a few years.
Okay.
So I don't know. But he's a senior. That's all I know. So, yeah, someone tell us if Tyson Regenball is coming back. I don't think I've seen him on the people doing the projected 2D for next year on the defense. I don't think I've seen him on there.
There's a couple questions I had. So Tyson was one. Joe McElroy was another. Is Coy Steele coming back?
No, I think he's done.
Okay. And let's see here. I think that's it. Keegan Williams might be coming back. Ty's done. Jeff is done. Yeah. So Tyson Reginald, Kyle Rigg. That was another one. Kyle done?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. It's all dudes, man. I think what I remember this class will be is not the star power that was reflected in last year's class, but more just kind of lunch pail kind of guys. I think a George Choate kind of has that face, that mentality that just collectively brings this group together. For me, I'll remember the first guy I wrote down on my list, Tyrell Thomas, man. What a dog. That guy, I really appreciate guys who stick it out that long and could have just, was a star player early on and then kind of got buried with some injuries and then just some depth. And man, I have a ton of respect, just absolute ton of respect for Tyrell Thomas. That kind of like in James Campbell, sticking out his years here, a guy from Florida, right?
Yeah.
Man.
Being a special teams guy, being a wide receiver, being a safety, being a cornerback, is doing it all.
Callahan O'Reilly coming to Bozeman as a quarterback and then being an all-conference linebacker by his senior year.
Yeah. He was a stud this year. Like a really, really good player.
RJ Fitzgerald, breaking the ties from his family from U of M and making his own path. And now his brother coming to Montana State. That's such a cool story. I mean, you got to give props to Willie P. What he overcame, all the scrutiny from, and how much he grew as a player and as a young man, just representing his brother out there on the field. I mean, yeah. So like, kind of like when you start digging into the players, right? You're like, oh man, yeah, there's that story. So, wow, kind of going down old Bobcat Road right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at obviously the guy on here that's probably the guy who's going to be the most remembered would be Isaiah Afonso, but
yeah,
just because his on the field performance. But this group had some really good leaders. Like you look at like RJ Fitzgerald, you look at Willie Patterson, you look at Ty Okada. Those guys were such good leaders and such good ambassadors for the program. Like those are like the guys that you're saying, like those were true Bobcats. Those guys are going to be Bobcats like for the rest of their life kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like James Campbell is the same way, but I mean, you just look at those kinds of guys and it's like, wow, those were guys that really stemmed the tide and just kind of handled that transition well from the Jeff Choate to Brent Vigen and kind of made that all possible with their leadership. So, oh, man, yeah, you just look at this list, you got just some memories flooding back for some of these guys, like Tyrell Thomas, like the pass breakup in the 2016 Cat Grizz game. How long ago was that? The 2016 Cat Grizz game where he broke up the pass at the end of the game against Gresh Jensen to seal the deal. You got, I mean, countless memories of Isaiah Fonse trucking people, having big touchdown runs, just being a stud. The one that probably comes to my mind first for Isaiah Fonse maybe is that touchdown run against Austin Peay. That one kind of comes into my mind where he just broke through the line and it's like, there we go. And then Tai Okada, I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this one. When he was, I don't know, he was like a sophomore, but he completely leveled Jerry Louis McGee in Cat Grizz game out on the flats. I mean, plays like that. I mean, that's what Tai Okada did time after time. Like, it's a great group of seniors, and I want to say thank you to every one of them for being a Bobcat and putting in their time, their blood, sweat, and their tears, because it's not easy being a collegiate athlete, and they could have chosen to do it at a lot of places, but they chose to do it at Montana State, and we're grateful for that.
Oh, absolutely. We're a fan-based podcast. We appreciate these guys.
That's right.
This is why we do it.
Gotta love it.
Always going to be a Bobcat. Tip of the cap. Nice job, fellas. All right. It's moving right along, man.
Yep.
Season recap.
Do you have the little timer up on top like I do in StreamYard?
Don't. Oh, yeah. 31:28. Yeah.
Do you see the little viewer icon next to it too?
Nope.
Okay, so only I can see that. Cool. All right. Yeah, so it's actually nice having a little how long we've been going here. We have various ways of keeping track of that normally, but it's kind of an inexact science where we both just kind of look at different clocks. But let's talk about so the season recap. Let's go ahead and I think the first thing we should do is revisit our preseason predictions. Maybe talk about a couple important games. We're not going to go game by game. That'll take forever and be kind of, I don't know, a waste of time, be boring content. But let's talk about where we picked the Bobcats to finish, our win-loss records, because we went through and penciled it and everything. And looking back on my entire Big Sky Conference rankings, they're kind of funny. But I don't know. What did you have the Bobcats finishing again? Let's start there.
So I had them 9-2 and 7-1 in conference. I had losses to Oregon State and Weber State. I wasn't pretty far off. I mean, we ended up 12-2. So again, these don't account for playoff games. But we were 8-0 in conference, which is awesome.
Yeah,
we won our first Big Sky Conference championship since when? What was it, like 2010 or something like that?
It may have been 2012, somewhere in that range. But hey, let's talk about that for a second before we move on. We won the Big Sky Conference championship this year. That's a big deal.
Yes, we did.
When we're talking about the season recap, we better talk about that. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I would have hated to gone through this entire thing and not mention that we were Big Sky champs. That would have been pretty embarrassing. But total classic R&R CatCast omission, right? Though. We do that stuff all the time. Listen back, like, I can't believe we didn't talk about the single most important topic from this thing. Happens all the time. All right, continue on. So you picked 9-2.
I think we both were 9-2.
We were both 9-2. I picked 9-2. I had us losing to Oregon State. That was a pretty easy one for pretty much everyone to pick. And I had us losing to Eastern. And I had us beating Weber.
Back losses, man.
Yep. So I had us starting 2-2, and then just rattling off a whole bunch of wins.
Oh, man, I went back and looked at these today. That Oregon State lost that 28-68 final score. You and I were there. That one hurt, man.
That one bad. Did. That's when I'm like, I would have never thought that was going to be a team that was going to make it to run to the semifinal with the way that game shook out, because that was still back when the defense was just giving up gash plays, because we were doing it against everybody at that point still, and we continue to do it against Eastern a little bit too. So I don't know, the season kind of took a nice turn, and that's something that Brent Vigen has done well every year he's been here, has improved as the season's gone on. Kind of some shaky starts, kind of some It's almost like they're trying things out, finding their footing, and then they get it rolling in the second half of the season. And they've done it every year, and I have no reason to believe they won't do it next year either. But I got to keep that in mind when I'm doing my preseason predictions next year. For next year, it's like, all right, we might struggle a little bit out of the gate, but by the time we're at game 7, 8, 9, we'll be a different team. And that's what it feels like. I feel like we're such a different team than we were against Oregon State. By the time that we played South Dakota State, William and Mary.
Well, we really had a chance to kind of refine the 2-quarterback system, and I think that was kind of the linchpin for this whole season, although we weren't able to run the 2-quarterback system because either Sean Chambers or Tommy Mellott rarely were kind of healthy at the same time.
Did not happen very much. And I actually wanted to go revisit that. How many snaps or how many minutes were they even available together? It just seemed like it was one or the other. But that was so hugely important to have a guy like Sean Chambers, because we probably lose a game or two, if not.
Yeah, he was the X factor in this season for me. No doubt. That and be able to, the return game. We'll talk about the stats here in a little bit. How Montana State stacked up against all 123 teams in the FCS. But Sean Chambers was definitely a difference maker. UC Davis was one of my favorite games. Happened on October 1st. It was one of those ESPNU games, those 8:15 kickoffs. We won that game 41-24. I love that game. It was just domination. Yeah. UC Davis was coming off kind of a desperate team at that time, right? They had like 4 losses, and they were a good team, but they just had such a tough preseason schedule that they ultimately scheduled themselves out of the playoffs. I mean, and we talked about that. U of M took their spot. I thought UC Davis was a more complete team than the Grizzlies at the end of the season, but that game was, I think, Chambers' best game. That was his shining moment, to just take the reins and just do everything, because he did everything in that game.
Yep.
It was impressive.
He throws a different ball than Tommy.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really pretty ball. Like when he throws that, like those high arcing fades that just have a lot of air under them and just keep, like, they just seem like they keep going. Like some got quarterbacks throw the ball and they kind of start dipping down. His just like keep going. He just puts nice velocity on it and good angles on it. And it's nice. It's nice watching Sean Chambers throw the ball. And it was really big bummer when he got hurt against South Dakota State, because he only got in that first series and we marched down and we scored a touchdown.
Yep.
And he didn't play again. I don't know. The game probably isn't a whole lot different. We probably maybe score another touchdown, I'm hoping, but it doesn't help the defense too much in that one. But it would have been nice to have the full complement, because, when you're playing a team like South Dakota State, you have to have all your horses, period. Mm-hmm. And we lost one of our biggest ones right off the bat. So it sucks. 2 years in a row, a couple of what ifs from injuries on the first drive of the game. Tommy Mellott getting hurt in the first drive against North Dakota State in the championship game. And then, of course, Sean Chambers now getting hurt in the first drive against South Dakota State. Kind of painful.
Was his injury ever disclosed?
He was in a boot. That's all I know. I don't think I ever heard. But honestly, like when we lost that game, I really stopped consuming Bobcat content pretty, at least pertaining to the game. It's like, I need to be away from this heartache as much as I can.
That was tough, man. I mean, we went down in flames like we normally do when we lose. That was the toughest thing for me.
Yeah,
but avoiding that turn right now, avoiding that turn.
Yep.
Do not exit down that path right now.
Anything else you want to talk about in terms of like the preseason predictions? We kind of went off the rails there, but did you have us winning the conference? You said 7-1.
I don't know if I can't remember if I did or not. I probably did. I probably had us in. I think I was pretty high on the Grizzlies coming into this year as well. I was wrong on that, thankfully.
I remember talking about this. I'm looking back at my notes. I had a big log jam, but I had Montana State winning the conference outright at 7-1 because I had SAC being 7-2, or I'm sorry, 6-2. The Grizz being 6-2, and I had UC Davis being 6-2. And I was trying to figure out like the tiebreaker between them. I was like,
right.
SAC beats Montana, but UC Davis loses a sack. I was very confused. But Montana State, I had them winning that conference outright, so that prediction came true for me. Yes, sir. 7-1. Did it even better. 8-0. Well, we didn't win it outright though, but we did share it.
I think our friend Boston Bobcat has a good question on kind of this topic, right?
Yes, this is a great question. And
why don't you talk about it?
Damn it. I was hoping you would, because I didn't prepare an answer for as much as I was hoping. But Boston Bobcat put out a poll on Twitter. He's a really good Bobcat Twitter follow. If you're not following him, he's Boston_Bobcat. He said, in lieu of a I'm proud to be a Bobcats tweet, because that's what everyone was doing, because this is like right after the loss. He said, here's a question to springboard us into the 2023 season. Which team did you view as a better success? The 2021 team that lost to the Grizz, did not win a Big Sky championship, and he phrases it no national championship, but I think it should be rephrased runner-up. They made it to the national championship, because I think he's kind of, putting a little bit of leading bias into this. But then he has the 2022 team, Bobcats, win Brawl of the Wild, win the Big Sky Conference Championship, but lose in the semifinals. So which one do you view as a better success? And I initially voted this year. What popped to my mind, because you beat the Grizz, you had the Big Sky Conference Championship, but I think part of my thinking when I voted that is that I didn't have super high expectations for this team this year. I know I just said that I picked us to go 9-2 and win the Big Sky Conference, but I didn't feel like we were like a team that was going to make a big run necessarily. It just, that's what happens sometimes when you actually look at the schedule and put the pen to the paper. Like, yeah, we can beat this team. Yeah, we can beat this team. All the crap. All right, we're going to be 9-2. Like, you start looking at the games. I just didn't think we were there's no way we could be as good as last year. We lost Troy Anderson. We lost Daniel Hardy. We lost Chase Benson. We lost Lewis Kidd. We lost so many players, and I had concerns about the offensive line. So this year, to me, was a big success in terms of beating my expectations. But it's hard to say that when you're comparing a year where you made it to the national championship against a year where you didn't make it to the national championship. How can the one where you didn't make it be more of a success?
80% of the people in that poll voted for the latter this year as a better success rate. And I wonder if he would put that poll out today, if it would be the same. I'm guessing it would be different. We were better in some facets this year than the team. Our rushing offense was even better this year. And that was one of the pleasant surprises, right? Because we were all wondering about our offensive line. So that was awesome. But our defense went way down. Our defense was way better the year before. Well, this is a tough one. I don't know. I might be a coin flip. I think you could convince me both ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's close. It's close, I think. I don't put as much importance on the Grizz game as a lot of other Bobcat fans do, which probably makes me an outsider. I don't know. But we almost found out last year the age-old question, would you rather win a national championship or beat the Grizz? I can unequivocally say I'd rather win a national championship. We were there. I wanted that.
Heck yeah.
I didn't.
Heck yeah.
When you were in Frisco, I wasn't thinking about Cat Grizz, man. I was thinking about winning the national championship, and even losing it. Oh man, yeah. Just if losing Cat Grizz guarantees we go to the national championship, I'll lose to the Grizz every year. If it guarantees that you go to Frisco, which is impossible. That's an impossible scenario. I'm saying that's how I feel about the matter. I'd rather win a national champ. I'd rather have a chance to win a national championship than a guaranteed win against the Grizz.
Once we tasted the national championship, once we got there, you and I looked at each other after that game. We're like, we just got to get back.
Yep.
There's nothing more I want than just to get back.
Yeah. It was fun, man. It was a fun trip, and coming so close, and it's just we haven't had that happen really in our lifetime. We were both alive in 1984, but it doesn't matter for much, right? I was one. So I want to see that in my life. I want to be there, and I want to see it. And that, I mean, I've seen us beat the Grizz. I've been in Bozeman. I've been in Missoula when we've beaten the Grizz. I want to see us win a national championship. That's something I haven't seen.
Absolutely. That's the number one thing I want for the Montana State Bobcats.
But yeah, it's hard when you're comparing the two seasons. It is a coin flip. They're both phenomenal seasons. Like, they're two of the best seasons as Bobcat fans we've had.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years since we went to college. Like, they're up there, if not the top two.
I would say this one was a little bit more surprising, just to see how well we dominated later on in the year.
Yeah.
This was affirming for Coach Fegan in many aspects, especially for me. But getting to the national championship last year was so special because we felt so down after the Cat Grizz, and then the turn of Matt McKay leaving and then Tommy Malott coming on it was like two different seasons. Mm-hmm. And then the way our defense played in those games, like beating South Dakota State with all their guys, they had such a run, right? So, and then just the unfortunate luck of Tommy going down in Frisco. Oh my gosh, it just seems almost like such a parallel to what happened this year. Woo, weird, right?
Yep. But it was kind of funny. Mark Gronowski, the quarterback for South Dakota State, suffered the exact same fate in the spring national championship. He got hurt in the first series against Sam Houston State, who would go on to win the game. So one of the two guys was going to get their chance at revenge on it, and unfortunately, Gronowski was the one who did it. But man, overall, what a great year. I want to ask you a question. What was your favorite single moment from this year? Could be a play, could be a game. Pick a snapshot in time.
If I go early season, it's probably Sean Chambers going untouched against UC Davis, like first or second series of the game.
Yeah, the one where he carries it off to the right side and just starts galloping and there's nobody there and just outruns everybody. Yeah. That was a good one.
Middle of the season, late part of the season, probably watching Marquis Johnson run wild against Cal Poly. We put up 72 points against Cal Poly. You don't remember that, but we put 72 to 18 or 72 to 28.
We could have put more. We could have put more.
The pass from the Alaskan Assassin to Trayton Pickering in the Cat Grizz game is probably my favorite, though.
It has to be, man. Like, two of the guys who do all the dirty work connecting with each other on that touchdown, pretty special.
What about you, bud?
I mean, I was there in Bozeman for Cat Grizz, so that one's number one for me because I was there. I was there for game day. Game day was here this year. Let's not forget to talk about that. How big of a deal that was. That was pretty crazy. College game day coming to Bozeman. But yeah, I went out there for that and then seeing the game in person. Like, to me, just being there, we don't get to do that as remote fans who don't get to go to Bobcat games very much. So that was very special for me. So that one's my favorite moment. But there's so many good moments from this season. The UC Davis game is up there. The touchdown Tommy pass at Northern Arizona to win the game, in a game that we, by all accounts, probably should have lost. We played pretty awful for 3/4 of that game. But man, I just jumped out of my seat when he made that pass. I thought we were dead in the water because of the previous play. Like, this is just not good. None of this is going to work. And all of a sudden, just throws a dime to Taco Dowler, right?
Yep.
On the run, he gets past the two defenders. What a great play. What a season full of great moments and great plays. And it's an unforgettable season that I'm not soon going to forget.
So that Northern Arizona game was my least favorite game to watch this year.
It was terrible. But that play made you just jump out of your seat. Guarantee it, right? I bet you jumped out of your seat. Or were you walking around the outside? Were you not even watching at that point?
I was watching that play. I watch them all, just not all live.
Not live, okay. Well, you don't get the full emotion though if you watch a play like that on replay that you missed the first time.
Gives me the big feels. Sometimes I have to walk it out. All right. Well, let's not get into the season going forward as far as like play by the schedule. That's what I'm talking about for 2023 because it's going to be a doozy. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah. But I do want to talk a little bit about going forward. Like, what do you want to see like improved?
First
next
question
year.
is, do you have, is this where you want to talk about your stats? You mentioned you want to talk some stats.
You know what? We probably should, before we talk about next year. Let's do a quick recap of where Montana State ended up this year.
Do you have a link
And
for
for
me?
the
I can put it
listeners-
on my screen here.
You might be able to. I'll start talking about it. But for the listeners, this might give you a kind of a broad view of where Montana State needs to do some improvements. So I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you. And what you should know, and what you probably can't see, is this was a ranking of all 123 FCS schools. So if I say Montana State is fourth, that's fourth out of 123. All right, we'll start it off. Total offense, Montana was, these are all national ranks again. They were fourth in total offense with 495 yards per game. I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to read just a couple things. We ended up second in rushing offense. Thorny, I don't understand that, man, that we ended up second in rushing offense. I thought we ended up eclipsing Davidson, but somehow we did not.
It's because we got shut down by the Jackrabbits completely. 54
Okay.
rushing yards will tank your average pretty quick.
That's a good point, man. All right. Let's see. Going down, we had the third ranked scoring offense of 42.9 points. Total defense, we were 49th. So that's not good. Team passing defense, we were 69th. We allowed 137 yards to the air. One thing we were really good on was our turnover margin. We were third. And I don't know what 1.14 means, but probably generating turnovers per game. I guess that's what that would be. On fourth down conversion, we were sixth in the nation. And let's see. Well, here's some bad stats for you. Our red zone defense, out of 123 teams, we ranked 118th. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. So, net punting. Here's something to think about, Thorny. Good old Bryce Layton averaged 32.31 yards a punt. We were 109th out of 123 teams in punting.
That's net punting, right?
Net punting, yeah.
Yep. So that's returns.
First down defense. We gave up a ton of first downs. Our defense gave up a ton of first downs. We ranked 113th out of 123. Yikes. But I guess to kind of wrap it up on a positive note, time of possession, we were fourth in the nation, averaging the ball 33 over almost 34 minutes. So offense looking really good. Defense needs a little bit of retooling over the year.
All right. Well, that's a good time to talk about what needs to be retooled. Obviously, like you said, the stats don't lie. The eye test doesn't lie. The defense was not national championship caliber this year. They had their moments. They improved throughout the year, but they were never at the level they needed to be. Yeah, they did.
I don't know, man. I'm still a little bit sour on the defense. You're probably right.
I mean,
it just feels bad.
Yeah, I mean, improving doesn't mean you got good. It just means you got better than you were. But I mean, I don't really know what the problem is with the defense, but we need an influx of talent. I think we need a defensive line transfer would be nice. He doesn't have to be a starter necessarily. I think the starting four are good, but we need, some bigger bodies and some more depth we can kind of roll throughout the defensive line. I think the defensive line's pretty good. Maybe it needs to get better, but I don't think they're a weak point. I think the linebackers may need a transfer as well. You got Nolan Askelson and Danny Yu, but I think we need maybe another guy in there who can really step in and maybe be a starter day one. Safety, I think we need someone in the safety room too. With Jeff Manning going out, and Reddy Short going out. Not that Reddy Short played really well by any stretch, but the depth is gone too. So I think it's like Tyson Pottinger. Maybe he'll take a step in the offseason, but right now it's Rylan Ort and then a question mark. So it'd be nice to get another guy like Jeff Manning who could come in and be a day one starter. And I think cornerback and nickel, I think, are probably all right.
Yeah, I think you said it right on the defense. I think Bryce Layton's got to get a little bit better punting average.
Yeah.
You and I kind of talked about that a little bit this year.
And
really
punting average is like both the punter's fault and also not the punter's fault if you guys can't tackle. But if you punt it past your coverage, it's also your own fault. So it's kind of a, I don't know where the blame lies on that one, but it needs to get better.
We'll have to find a replacement for Stones.
Yeah.
Cal Kotzman is a kicker out of Butte. We've heard he's pretty good, but I don't know. Blake leaves some big shoes to fill there. Yeah, I don't know, man. So I think also just continue running outside zone. I wonder what our offensive line is going to look like.
Yeah, are we switching to offense?
Without that, man. What's that?
Are we switching to offense? You were pretty focused on the defense, so.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
I was just
it's fine.
Going for it.
Yep.
But don't know what we're going to be looking like on the offensive line still with a new coach and what kind of scheme we'll run.
I mean, we need to get bigger and stronger on the offensive line. Now, if it's going to mean that we lose some of our outside zone principles, I mean, there's got to be a balance there. We still got to be able to do that stuff if that's what we're going to do. But, the South Dakota State's defensive line ate the offensive line for lunch. Yeah. Like they were right in the backfield every time. And it was really hard. You could tell that, if Tommy was able to make some of the cuts he wanted to, he slipped a whole bunch of times. And, we just ran kind of a different offense. So maybe if we play that game on a neutral field, it doesn't look nearly as ugly as it did that day. But I think Marcus Ware getting healthy, who was playing really well before his season-ending injury, will be key. But those guys are all young. They're still like sophomores and juniors and freshmen. So they're going to have another offseason of weight training. They probably can put on 5-10 pounds apiece. They don't need a whole lot, but you just need to keep working on that strength and that mass. And I mean, all the key blocking pieces of the offense are returning. Like you got Derek Snell's coming back, Trayton Pickern's coming back, the entire offensive line's coming back. R.J. Fitzgerald's not. That's a big loss, but I think Jahari Martin, who you keep pegging as a linebacker, I think he's going to be our fullback. I think that's what he's going to do. He was really good at it when he was healthy, and he just was injured for most of the year. The offense doesn't need a lot of help, but I think some wide receivers is probably what we're looking at. If Cleveland Thomas can come back, I think that'll be big. But the offense I think is going to be really, really good again next year. Now, I do want to see us improve the passing game. I think you and I both talked about that in our quick little hitter after the South Dakota State game, because that's maybe what can help the running game even more is finally having a really competent passing game. And Tommy looks really good at South Dakota State. So, the flashes are there, the possibilities there, but that's what the offseason is for. Got to get better.
I would agree with everything you said, man. But I still think probably we might be a year or two away from that kind of South Dakota State look.
Yeah. No, it was hard to watch that national championship game and think that the Bobcats could even compete any different than North Dakota State did. Maybe a little bit better, but I think South Dakota State was just that good. Yeah. They've been by far and away
for a while.
They have. And they're built specifically to compete with North Dakota State.
Yeah. It's going to take not only just being able to build our bodies like that in the depth over time, but let's be honest, we need an indoor practice facility. We need full cost of attendance. Yeah. We need everything they have in order to compete with that. Without that, no team in the FCS will. And that's what sets the FCS, that's what sets the North Dakota and South Dakota states apart from what we have here at Montana and University of Montana.
Yeah.
It's just simply that. We have the atmosphere, the game day atmosphere. We have the stadiums. We're missing the indoor practice facilities. The Grizzlies are building theirs. Ours is, just in talks right now. We hear things, but we haven't seen anything yet. And then full cost of attendance. Jeff Choate was beating that drum 2-3 years ago. We need to get that done.
Yeah.
So we're at some deficits.
Full cost of attendance changed a little bit, though, with NIL. Jeff Choate wasn't talking about NIL stuff. Because now we have basically NIL deals for all the players, which is good. That's it's
going to be weird, though. So I think the rich just keep getting richer in the FCS, and then there's a huge gap underneath that. If North Dakota State, South Dakota State decided to go to the MAC or, FPS, and that would just level a playing field for so many schools at that point. Montana State, University of Montana goes to the Mountain West. That would level so much for a lot of schools.
It would.
But you have about four teams in the upper echelon right now that have the facilities, support, money that just kind of allow them to do what they do.
Yeah. The combination of tradition, facilities, resources, fan base. There's not a lot of schools. There are some schools that have plenty of like resources right now and up and coming schools, but they're new to the FCS. So I think Tarleton State would be one of those ones to keep an eye on. But you're right. Like there's right now it's pretty stratified, but stratified, but it also is in the FBS too, man. It's like kind of happening everywhere. Like COVID and then everything since COVID has really kind of separated the haves and the have-nots even more. The NIL deals and how they handled playing football or not playing football. Montana State's always in a lucky position where we don't typically have to schedule an FBS game too, because law schools have to do that, and there's already one loss on your resume. Like if we played San Diego, we're the number 2 seed. And we don't play South Dakota State. Because we played Oregon State and because we lost to Oregon State, I mean, you can also say because we lost to, no, that's the only team we lost to, right? Jeez. What am I talking about? Yeah, if we don't play Oregon State, we're undefeated. We get the 1 or the 2 seed. And we're back in Frisco. Most likely. So, I mean, it comes down to that kind of stuff, man, in the FCS. It's how crazy the seeding goes. But Montana State's right there. Again, primed to do it again. And with this new look FCS with James Madison gone, Sam Houston State gone, the top tier programs keep leaving. It's attrition. Montana State's on top by default almost in that upper echelon.
If we're in the FCS in the 5 years and the indoor practice facility is done, maybe renovations on our stadium are beginning, because look at the press box side, man. That thing needs to be overhauled. There's going to be some major renovations done to Montana State's stadium probably in the next 15 years that, just going to update it. Montana State would just be at the top of the FCS as far as facilities, but I think that we will be going FBS. We've talked about that, but yeah, I don't know. I think the FCS is interesting. I think if you take the 4 teams we just been talking about and they go FBS, Montana State, University of Montana, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, the FCS becomes really interesting right away.
True. Parity's back.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But you go to Frisco, are you going to get the fan bases? Will you see the crowds that you just saw last week? I don't think so. You're not going to see Kennesaw State bring that many people to Frisco, or Sac State, if Sac State goes, something like that. You won't get that kind of showing at a national championship, but the parity is back. And I think, to be honest, I bet you most of the FCS is just rooting for us just to go. Just get out of there. Come on. You guys are big enough.
Well, especially, at least North Dakota State, for sure. Yeah. I think everyone wants them gone.
Those guys.
I'm kind of hoping this is the beginning of the end for them, and Matt Ince is kind of the guy who leads the ship down, goes down with the ship. But it's pretty early to count out the Bison for losing one national championship. I'm just saying I'm hoping. I'm not making prognostications about, this is the end, the beginning of the end. They had a lot of players hurt. Hunter Lupke didn't play. I mean, they're still going to be good. They were supposed to have Trey Lance this year too. I think that derailed the Bison. He would have been a junior this year. Wow. They should have had Trey Lance for 4 years. They would have been unstoppable for 4 years, Trey Lance.
Hard to think about that, man.
Yep. Cam Miller is no Trey Lance.
What? You don't say.
No. Man, yeah. Final thoughts. Next year, I'm optimistic. We got some work to do in the offseason, but it's a lot less of a personnel transition than it was from last year to this year.
Yeah. Vegan seems more settled. I think he feels, at least when I was around him, just feels more confident. Yeah. So
he should be, man.
Happy to see that.
He has 3 FCS losses in his entire career. North Dakota State in the national championship, South Dakota State in the semifinal, and then the Grizz last year. That's it.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
It's pretty impressive, man. Like that's a best 2-year stretch in Bobcat football in a long time. And certainly the best first 2 years of a Bobcat coach's career. Has to be.
Yeah. It's really good. It is really good. All right, Tony. I think I'm good.
I think I'm good. I'm starting to feel a little tired. I think maybe you're feeling a little bit tired too, without any in that R&R CatCast juice coursing through my veins. I haven't had a single sip of anything over here, not even tea, nothing. Fading. Thanks everyone for riding along with us on our first attempt at a live stream. Hope you enjoy the replay. If you're here with us, appreciate you being here. You can find us on Twitter, RRCatcast. You can always find us there. You can find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. And thanks again to Manhattan Bank for being our dank sponsor for this calendar year. So we still are sponsored by Manhattan Bank until June, I believe. So we still got some episodes with our good new friends over there in Manhattan Bank. And Foley, let's get out of here with one final live. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.